What? Okay. Yes, okay, good. I think I'm in the spot. Sorry, just so you don't know, I have gone blind over this past few days, and yes, that is why I am carrying a broom. Ah, who cares? Daredevil! Laser is 'cause I like sci-fi. The dude is 'cause I am a rat guy. The 99 is 'cause I like Wayne Gretzky. That's why I'm Lazy Dude 99. Time if we're gonna do a review. Yes, we're gonna review. Talk about movies and comics too. Let's all go watch the review. Hello everybody, how's it going? I'm Lazy Dude 99. Welcome to another Lazy Dude 99 review. Today we are looking at the Netflix Daredevil TV show that aired on April 10th. Oh boy. Now this TV show has blown up. I see everybody talking about it and saying, oh, this is amazing. This puts the old Daredevil movie to shame. There's so much good stuff about it. And I think, well, for the most part, everyone's pretty much right. There are a few things that I disagree with on some people, but on the most part, I'm all in on this show. This show follows Matt Murdock as he's starting out his career as a vigilante, fighting criminals and trying to make his city a better place. Also, at the same time, we have him opening up a lawyer's firm in Hell's Kitchen that has been greatly damaged thanks to the attack of New York and the Avengers. And as Matt Murdock's ambitions get bigger and bigger, he starts catching the eyes of bigger and bigger foes, which eventually ends up with him busting heads against the Kingpin of crime, Wilson Fisk. So let me just start by saying that one of the things that I totally forgot, I didn't know, and I should have known and should have noticed and mentioned in my predictions video, was the actor playing Daredevil. I didn't realize that I actually knew him from some stuff. It's Charlie Cox. I've known him from some movies like The Stone of Destiny and Stardust, both of which he's a very entertaining actor, very charismatic, and brings a lot to this type of a character. I like how he has a good balance of, a justice seeker but human being, That's sometimes what I got so much from Daredevil. He was all brood, no humanity, and I think that he balances, which is what is probably it is my favorite version of Daredevil that I've seen. He's smart and intelligent, but he's also vulnerable and can be hit. He's not someone who's jumping in through a hail of bullets and everyone misses him. He gets injured, he gets hit, he gets beaten, he gets stabbed, he gets shot at, and gets maybe even a couple of grazes on him. I like how they differentiate that his abilities are, helpful and they're very useful, but they aren't something like Spider-Man's spider sense where he can sense danger everywhere. It just gives him omnipresence of his surroundings, but it's still up to him in order to react to those surroundings. And while this helps him in his fighting of crime with his martial arts training, it is also not something that makes him absolutely impossible to hurt. If you have somebody who is just as highly skilled and trained as he is, it's a fairly even match. Just because Daredevil has some advantages doesn't mean the other guy doesn't have some advantages as well. One other thing I think this show does well, which kind of separates it from all the other superhero shows, and even in some cases the other types of comic book shows, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter and whatnot. The thing that makes this different is, unlike something, let's say, for example, The Flash. I'm comparing this to The Flash. The Flash, almost every single episode, there's going to be a new villain. If it's not a new villain, it's going to be a returning villain, or it's something setting up for something else with the major villain later down the line. Now, while there is a major villain in something like The Flash, it takes down roads and goes into different side routes because it has different villains that it also wants to focus on. This show does the opposite approach. It has one main villain, one main bad guy, and focuses it all on the villain-hero rivalry between those two. Each show has its own pros and cons because of this. For something like The Flash, the pros are they're left with a much larger rogues gallery with more memorable characters. The cons is that the villains aren't given as much development as someone like Wilson Fisk is in this show. Foggy Nelson, to me, has always been one of those characters where I never actually got, but that was always, to be fair, because I never read a lot of Daredevil. But, like, when Jon Favreau, the director of Iron Man, played him in the original Daredevil movie, I kind of found his character pretty boring, He's a little bit of just a typical best friend type character. Didn't find him interesting at all. This guy plays him he's so hilarious, he's kind, he's passionate, he's one of those guys that's always thinking a mile a minute, wants to take everything by the horns. He's a little bit of the realist to Matt Murdock's idealist, but they balance each other well. He's very funny. The guy there's plenty of stuff the show does with him that makes him, you're like, oh man, Foggy is just a good guy. He's someone that I want to hang out with and be friends with. There's one episode in the show where there's this woman who they're trying to let her keep her home, and, they're trying to be, nice lawyers and stuff and let her keep her home, but her home has been ransacked by some guys who said they were fixing it, when really they were just ransacking it so she'd leave. So Foggy goes over there, and he helps her rebuild it, It's an interesting contrast between Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson, since both of them have different approaches. Matt Murdock's going all out, being hard, trying to fight for justice in one way, Foggy's going at it a different way, but they're both on the side of justice, which makes it really interesting when later on in the show, when, the Daredevil, even though he's not called Daredevil at first, when the Vigilante, as everyone's called at first, is starting to get blamed for some crimes that he didn't do, and Foggy believes it, hook, line, and sinker. It makes it an interesting contrast for them later down the line. We also have Deborah Ann Wolfe as Karen Page, and, I really like her too. The supporting cast in this show, top notch, because, normally for a love interest, or, I don't even know, she's not even a love interest, really, not for Matt Murdock, at least. There is some, she kind of has some attraction for Matt Murdock, but Foggy's really attracted to her, and Matt doesn't seem to be, giving her a second thought in that sort of respect. And I don't know where they're going to go with her, because there's plenty of stuff that happens with her in this series. She starts out on this series in the very first episode on the bad side of the Kingpin's plans, and her life is in danger, and Daredevil has to save her. And this leads her down a road of with her life being in danger. She's one of these people that when something like this happens, she's not, you have two choices. You can cower and hide and hope it doesn't happen again, or you can try to fight back to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. And all three of these characters, Foggy, Karen, and Matt Murdock, they all see that, and they all want to make a difference. And she's fun, she's not like a stick in the mud, always depressed and, oh, my life is in danger, and blah, 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 blah. No, she cracks some jokes every now and then. She and Matt Murdock and Foggy, they all work off of each other really good. We have Vorty Curtis Hall as Ben Urich, and this is also a good performance. He plays the seasoned old reporter that knows the crime game, where Karen wants to make a difference, starts getting herself in too deep. It's Ben Urich who takes her and says, okay, you gotta go about this carefully, or else you're gonna end up dead. And he's the one that kind of balances this out, and he becomes kind of the Commissioner Gordon to Daredevil in a way, but not exactly. When Matt Murdock finds something as Daredevil and he can't give it to his friends as Matt Murdock, because obviously they'll be like, where'd you get this? He's going to give it to Ben Urich so they can move forward later on in the show. And it makes a good dynamic. I like Ben Urich's relationship with his wife that's really tragic, and then his relationship with Karen, and they have a good relationship, which all leads back to circling around what all their focus is on, Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin of crime. Vincent D., and I'm going to try to pronounce this right, Onofrio, he plays an interesting Kingpin. I say interesting because I'm going to be honest, and a lot of people I know are going to probably disagree with me on this. It's not exactly the type of Kingpin I like. Yeah, I know, some people might be surprised at this, because I've seen everyone say, oh my gosh, this guy was the perfect Kingpin and everything. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this guy's bad. I'm not saying it's bad. Because there are some really good moments with this guy as the Kingpin. I'll get into more detail in the spoiler part of the review. I'll just give brief summary. There's the point when Kingpin and Daredevil talk to each other for the first time. That's really menacing, really well done. There's a point where he's looking as the city burns and stuff like that. That's really good, really well done. And I like this guy as an actor. As I said in my predictions video, I used to watch this guy in Law & Order all the time. And his performance is just... I'll explain why it's odd for me in the spoiler part of the review, but there are some things about it that make it a little bit... I can explain this. Like, Kingpin kind of has this plan that he keeps on saying that Hell's Kitchen needs to be completely torn down and destroyed in order to make a new. Why? That's his main problem that I really don't get with his plan, is he keeps on saying Hell's Kitchen needs to be torn down. Well, no, not really. You could just start building and restructuring everything, and, like, I don't know what his plan is, if it's, like, if he thinks he's the righteous person, and he's wanting to let all the evil people kill each other, and then move it in for the good people. I don't know if that's what he's trying to do. It doesn't seem like it. Like, if he wants to, like, build all these nice buildings and whatnot, like, we're never given the exact details of what he wants to do to the city. He keeps on saying he wants to save it, but he has to tear it down. Well, what does that mean? What does that imply? You know, I want to know more about what the villain wants to do with this city, why he wants to do that. I would like to see more of that, please, but instead he's really kind of trapped in this romance story, which I have no idea why it's there. Okay, that's not entirely fair. I do know why it's there. It's to humanize him, you know? This is a character who's not completely evil. He does love, he does care, and he thinks he's doing the right thing. There's this quote that a lot of people use that in every villain's mind, they are the hero. I think that is true for some villains, but not for all of them. You know, like in the minds of Lex Luthor or Dr. Doom, they think that they're doing the best things in the world and that they are the hero of the story. But in the eyes of someone like, let's say, Bullseye or the Joker, they don't think they're the hero. They know they're the villains, and they want to be the villains, and they want to kill and destroy other people. You know, it's just, that's the type of people they are, and they're okay with that. Speaking of Bullseye, if they don't have him in Season 2, I will be really mad because I really want to see what they do for Bullseye. Anyway, I will get more into my complaints of the Kingpin in the later thing, but as I said, he's not bad. He has menacing moments, and he has some things that are really good about him, but there are some things that really bother about him that make him not the perfect Kingpin for me. Rosie Dawson as Claire, I almost forgot about her. I'm glad I didn't. She is this character that she meets Daredevil after he's been in a fight and he's been injured. She patches him up and she meets him and she, you know, protects him, and then they form a relationship with each other that leads into, you know, something else. It's a very interesting relationship. I love how these two work off of each other. Especially in their first episode, because she has this thing where she's patching up a man who's been stabbed and is in a mask in her house. That's something that, you know, she can't fully trust him, but the way he speaks, she's wanting to trust him, but there's also this thing of, should I trust him, should I not trust him, you know, maybe he's crazy, maybe I'm patching up a criminal, or maybe there is something more to this. And, you know, got Matt that's trying to, you know, come at this in a way that's, you know, I don't know. Their relationship with each other is really, really good. I like them together. I hope she kind of drops off of this season in the later episodes, but I hope she comes back as a major character, because I really liked her as a character, really thought she was a fun character, and I thought that her and Matt worked off of each other really good, and I want to see more of that. The action scenes in this show, awesome. They're very good. However, they're not forced. You know, one of the other things that is a pro to this show, that it's trying more hard, instead of being, let's make a superhero show, is like, let's make a crime show with a superhero. You know, because it's not, you don't feel like there's a obligatory fight scene every single episode that, oh, this is where they just throw in a fight scene because they need a fight scene because it's a superhero show. You know, you look at stuff like Arrow or Flash, sometimes you're more interested in the intrigue and the stuff going on in the background, but here's a fight scene, I'm like, okay, well, it's an okay fight scene, but, you know, okay, thanks. Whereas this show, sometimes they just, you know, there's like a short action scene about like, you know, a minute long, and you're like, well, that's okay, I'm more interested in the story going on in the background. I don't feel the need for more action to be thrown in my face right now. I'm okay with just to let the story and the atmosphere of the story take on its own character. But that's not to say when the action scenes aren't there, they are awesome. There is one action scene, absolutely incredible. If you've seen the series, you know what I'm talking about. The one in the hallway when he's, you know, taking on the Russians and getting that boy back. absolutely incredible. It is it's one of those ongoing shots that goes forever, and you gotta think the choreography on that must have taken forever, and it was so well done. And when the punches hit, and when stuff gets sliced and cut and shot at, it actually feels like it hurts. This isn't type of Daredevil that, you see, spit a little blood, but he can get back and he's okay. This is a Daredevil that when something hits him, you can feel like the knuckles hit in the face. Every hit feels like it hurts, but you also see, and you see Daredevil get hit. Like, there's a point in that hallway scene where you get a group of guys and they're just trying to pummel him, and you can see him, hitting one while another one's hitting him in the back, and he's just having to tough through it, and then as soon as he gets this one down, he turns around and hits him with the elbow, and you know what? They are very well done. The action scenes are well done, but not forced. They're not at the point where you just gotta let's see, we're at the half-hour mark. Let's throw an action scene in there for no reason, just because it's a superhero show. I think that is the thing, that when you got a story like this with just one villain in mind, you're not forcing the villain conflicts. You're letting the story flow more naturally. Now, here's the question: is this the best superhero TV show out there right now? I don't know. It's hard to compare this against Arrow Season 1, because Arrow Season 1 is very, very good, and Flash right now is very good as well. I will say probably it might be the best, because it's not falling into the certain cliches that shows like Arrow and Flash have fallen into in order to, keep the younger audience or whatever. Where Flash sometimes has love triangles, and, Arrow has stuff like that too. You got some people being, if Oliver should end up with Felicity, and some people's like, no, she deserves to be with Ray, and blah, blah, blah. You don't get any of that bull crap in this show. You get characters, and very good characters, and when there is love interest blooming, it's flowing naturally, it's not forced, and you don't have characters just all of a sudden acting out of character and doing other things. So I would say in that respect it's probably better, but in other aspects, like for example, I just like the Flash more probably, and Arrow Season 1 more, because I enjoy those characters. I kind of this takes its stuff a little bit more seriously. So if you're looking for something, if you say just because it takes itself a little bit more seriously than those shows, maybe that makes it better. Maybe, I don't know, but I can say that it might be better made, but it's not my favorite out of them. And I can't say it's better made for 100% because it's been a while since I've seen Arrow Season 1, and Flash Season 1 is not yet over, so there's still more stuff to look at and compare. But in some respects, I say it might very well be the best. At the very least, I can say this: it's the best that Marvel's ever done. I haven't watched Agent S.H.I.E.L.D. after the 5th episode. I hear it's good, and I watched Agent Carter, and I really liked Agent Carter. But I would say this one is probably the best, because the action scenes are more spectacular. It takes its tone very seriously. The colors and the camera angles it takes in this show are very good. Now, I think that I will rate this show so I can get on to the spoilers, so people will, because I know some people are wondering, what is your problem with Kingpin, man? So I will tell you as soon as I give my rating. So my rating for the Daredevil TV show is a 8 out of 10. Very good show, very well done. I liked it a lot. I'm looking forward to Season 2 when they get that done. And it's very interesting seeing this on Netflix, because I just binge-watched the whole thing in 2 days. And, well, a day and a night, because I was up till 2 in the morning, then the next morning I watched the rest. Anyway, it's a very good show, and before I go into the spoilers, I want to say, when he gets his Daredevil suit, not the black suit, the Daredevil suit, oh my gosh, that is probably the best TV show superhero suit ever. I mean, I like the Flash suit and all, but that Daredevil suit is so darn cool. Okay, after I've said all that, time to go on to the spoilers. Now remember, this is a spoiler warning. I'm recommending this show. If you haven't seen it yet, or if you haven't seen all of it yet, if you still have a couple of episodes left, you might want to hold off on this. So I will now start the spoilers. Okay, what the heck was that woman there for? Okay, that whole, when that woman that Wilson Fisk fall in love with, I don't find her believable, as a character, like, when she figures out, like, oh, he's doing all this evil stuff, like, she left him at that first date when, like, a whole bunch of security guards went towards Wilson Fisk, and then now she's just, like, then, like, the next couple of episodes, she's back, and she's okay with him, and then the more stuff she finds out about him, she seems to be okay with it. I guess you can say it's just because she feels like she knows him as a person, and knows that he's not a bad person, I guess, but yeah, he pretty much is. I mean, the people he's killed, and like they should. Let me put it this way: you know the movie Goodfellas. If you haven't seen it, it's a good movie. Go ahead and watch it. But in the movie Goodfellas, there's a scene in the movie where the guy realizes a girl that his girlfriend has been. I don't know if she was hit or if she was, stolen from or whatever. I think she was hit by one of her neighbors. And this guy who works for the mob goes over, smacks the guy who did it right in front of everyone with a gun, pistol whips him, I believe, over and over and over again, and then leaves and gives her the gun and says, hide this for 3 days and then I'll come and get it. And then he walks away. And she says in that moment, she says, I should have been scared. I should have been horrified. But I wasn't. I was turned on, or whatever she said. I don't remember. But, they gave a reason that she feels safe in the arms of a guy like that who is willing to do the tough, dirty things. And I just didn't get that from this woman. She's, like, nice, and she's in an art gallery, and she's nice and everything. And then, she figures out that, he's kind of a big crime lord, and she's okay with it. I don't get it. Anyway, though, but my main problem with Kingpin is he's not intimidating enough. Like, sure, to Daredevil he's intimidating, but in those scenes when he's with other mob bosses and or whatever they are, crime lords, he is constantly being intimidated by the other members. With the Asian guy, I forgot his name. Anyway, with the guy from the Yakuza, he comes up and, he's always saying, and you have Wilson Fisk always act like he's on the defensive, like, well, if you're uncomfortable with this, and, he's never coming out with the authority, like, this is the way it's going to be, and everyone's like, oh, yes, sir, okay, sir. The guys are constantly questioning him on his motives, and it feels like he's always reactionary to stuff. When he kills that Russian brother, and when he slams the door and cuts his head off, whatever, that did not scream Kingpin to me. My essential Kingpin is the guy that, even though he could kill you, he'd rather just let other people do it. He'd rather just sit there. There's a moment in Ultimate Spider-Man where he says, when a guy says, oh, you don't even get your hands dirty anymore, he's like, no, I don't, unless I really want to. And then he, crutches the guy's skull. This, when he's just like, beating on him, I don't like that, because it makes him seem like he's an emotional guy that's letting his anger get a hold of him. He's like, you embarrassed me! I don't like, no. If you're gonna have to do that, you have to make their character calm. The more rage-inducing your villains become, like, they react to anger, the less menacing they are. The calmer a villain is. For example, Silence of the Lambs, you have the scene where Clarice is walking down the alleyway towards Hannibal Lecter. You have one guy that comes up, I think throws poop at her or whatever, and he's yelling at her, yeah. He's not scary. She walks up to Hannibal Lecter, he's just standing there, staring, and very menacing looking, like he's so calm and relaxed. That is creepy. In that Ultimate Spider-Man comic book, when Spider-Man takes down the Kingpin, there's a point in it where, Kingpin is just like, so calmly, and Spider-Man's doing everything he can, and Kingpin's like, whatever, I don't even care, you're nothing, you're a bug to me, and he just throws him out the window because he doesn't even care, he's nothing to the Kingpin. And then, when Spider-Man realizes that and goes at it a different way, there's a moment when Spider-Man returns, Kingpin is facing off against him, and Spider-Man's making fun of him, and then he gets angry, and he loses it, and that's when he loses the fight. When Spider-Man pisses him off and makes him lose his calm composure, that's when he loses. That, to me, is the Kingpin. Like, don't get me wrong, should the Kingpin have rage moments? Yes, but they shouldn't be the norm. He always comes across to me as a lot of the times is he's always angry when, like, there's a scene where he's in that meeting with that Chinese older woman, and she, you know, basically says, you know, get it together or else, you know, you could be in trouble. And he flips the table. He literally just flips the table, and he's like, yeah, and he's mad. You know, that's not the Kingpin to me. The Kingpin is someone's like, you know what she just said? I knew she was going to say that I had it planned out, and everything's going according to plan. But the Kingpins always seem to be reacting to stuff to me. You know, like, as I said, when he kills the Russian brother, it doesn't seem like that was his plan the whole time. It seems like he got pissed and then changed the plan so it got to a point, you know, so he could work around it. Now, sure, that makes him good at adapting, but, you know, I always want Wilson Fisk to be the one that everyone's intimidated by and they don't want to even look in the eye wrong, you know? I never really got that feeling from the other crime bosses. He always seemed like they treated him like an equal, and I didn't like that. I didn't like how he was always angry all the time. Okay, let me put it this way. Here's a big scene, big spoiler. Really don't want you to hear this if you haven't seen it yet. The scene where he kills Ben Urich. He should not have been there. He should not have been there. Why? Not because he shouldn't have killed Ben Urich. That was going to happen. He needed to do that. But it should have been a phone call. It should have been a phone call and he'd be like, I'm sorry that I have to do this. And then somebody else comes from the channel or breaks his neck or whatever. You know, he should be the guy that... He doesn't have to take things into his own hands. He doesn't have to do anything, really. He can just press a button on a phone and boom, somebody's dead. That's intimidating. But when he's like, you talked to my mother! And he's strangling... No, that's not intimidating. That's pathetic. This is just the way I see it. It's not my Kingpin, the guy who's always so calm and collective and the super buff guy. I wish they went into more details, like how did he get to where he is, you know? I like the explanation in the Daredevil movie when they say how he was a bodyguard who eventually took out his person who was guarding. Because you get a big, tough guy like that, he's not going to get there just because he's smart, you know? He's going to get there on his strength and people underestimate him because he's smart. And then he takes it over, and that's where he is. That's why I wanted more details into that. I wanted more details in what he wanted to do to the city. I wanted more of him. And that's why I'm a little bit disappointed in the Kingpin. Not because the acting was bad, not because the character himself was horrible, just because there's so much more they could have done with him. And I hope that they do more with him in the future and that they make him more menacing. I hope, like, the season 2, he, like, is running things from prison. I hope that's the route they go through. Where he's still in prison and yet he's still running things. That, I think, will be awesome. Anyway, that's enough. If you don't feel the same way, if you like the Kingpin, that's fine. I'm just saying, for me personally, I would have liked to see the more calm and stoic and cold-hearted Kingpin rather than the rage one that says, "You talked to my mother!" You know, I don't know. That's just me, and yeah, I've given my rating for the show already. It's a great show. It has lots of great characters. Can't wait for season 2. That costume is amazing. See you around. Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more coming soon.